So the next step that we'll do is creating an assembly drawing to bring all of our pieces together and ultimately assemble them into the cube. So I'm going to get rid of this and we will start over from scratch. So after you've modeled all your parts and done the dimension drawings of them, the ortho-iso drawings of them, we're going to create an assembly, and what the assembly is going to do is give us a space where all these pieces can be put together. And we're going to do that by going File, New, Assembly, Standard AIM. And in this nothing space, we're going to put all of our pieces. So we're going to, on the upper left, hit Place. You need to know where your thing is saved. After I've finished all my models, and you've done your dimension drawings, the next thing we're going to do is assemble them in the 3D space, which is a bit of a challenge for a couple of reasons. One, you have to know how it goes together, but also we have to get used to manipulating the pieces within the 3D space. So I'm going to go through that in this video. So I'm going to make a new document, and it's going to be a standard AIM. I can double click on it to open this. So to bring in our pieces, I have them all open here because I was just modeling them, but if you don't have them open, that's fine. You're going to select Place, and then you have to be able to find them within your file browser, so make sure you know where you save it. You can bring them in one by one, or you can click on the first one, hold down Shift, and then click on the last one. That'll just select the whole list. I'll say Open. Now right now it's just floating in 3D space. Freely in 3D space. If I scroll with the wheel, it's going to move me in and out. But I'm just going to click once, and it's going to place them all at the same time, all together. But it's going to also let me keep placing them, and I don't want multiples of these pieces, so I only clicked once, and now I'm going to hit Escape because I'm done placing pieces. So now I've got these pieces sitting in 3D space, and the important thing to notice is we are moving in 3 dimensions here. So if I'm looking at them from the top and I move a part, you may be moving it away from it on this axis, but there's also a risk that you're going to move it an unknown distance on the axis that is perpendicular to you. So just be careful when you're moving pieces around that you don't move it, and what you think is moving it just to the right maybe is actually moving it back really far, so you might have a harder time seeing your pieces. At any point while you're manipulating the pieces, if you lose track of where everything went, I was just scrolling with the wheel, wild and crazy like, you can click on the navigation cube, and I just click on the corner. It'll recenter me to all the pieces. Now if a piece is really far away from the others, this causes a problem because it's going to show me everything at the same time, which is going to take up a lot of space. Which is going to include a lot of space, so everything's going to be really small. So as I want to bring these pieces together, I need to know what is connected to what. So I have a picture from the student's drawing that I borrowed to create these files. So I've colored them as best I could the same so I can tell how these things go together. So using my drawing, I can see maybe this green piece connects to this pink piece. So this green piece has sort of an L shape to it. Where's the green piece? There's the green piece. So the L piece in there, in this space that I'm kind of like looking at here, this pink space kind of gets inserted against. Now, when we create what's going to be called constraints or limitations or locks, as the pieces go together, we need to think of it as either these two surfaces are in contact or these two surfaces are even. And I'll show what I mean by that in a moment. So now on the pink piece, I'm going to identify what part sits in this L shape. What part is actually like butted up against here. So we've got sort of this Z shape, and then there's the one that comes off of it. So that's this piece. Let me look at that piece here. If you need to rotate a piece around, you can click on it, hit free rotate, and that'll just let you kind of orbit it a little bit. So that piece has, let me see, the part that's touching the cube is these two here, which I'm trying to figure out which it is. I've got these three connected and these two that stick out. So I think that's these three here and then those two that stick out. And so what I'm going to do is, and that's going to go into that L bracket there. I'm going to hit constraint, and I want that surface to be placed in contact with that surface. the first one you click is the part that's going to move. So that put those two surfaces against each other. I'm just clicking on the wheel and scrolling to navigate around here. So that looks good. That looks like what I want, and I can say apply. But this is one thing you will change. So this is mate, as in these two surfaces are touching. So I'm going to say apply on that one. But if I want two surfaces to be even, because maybe it's easier to get to them, I can select that as well. So this one's going to be a different constraint because I want maybe this surface to be even with that surface. But I want this pink one to move. So actually I'm going to hit cancel and I'll go into it again. So I'm going to constrain. I want this piece to move to that piece, but I want them flush or even with each other. So that'll move it up that way. And I can say apply. Now I've only constrained it twice, so it's going to let me move it only the way that I haven't constrained it. And that's going to be how you're going to make sure everything is locked. If you go to move stuff and it moves like this, you're not fully done. So the last thing I can do is this top here, where I can constrain and say this surface and this surface, I want flush with each other. So that's going to make them even. If it's a constraint that it can't do because maybe there's an argument between two rules that you gave it, it'll make sure to tell you about that. So I'm going to say OK. If there's a constraint or a rule that you put together and you realize that maybe it was wrong, so maybe that piece was not in the orientation that you intended and you had to go back and change it, if I click on the part and go to the plus sign next to it, I can see all the constraints and it'll show me which two surfaces are constrained and how they're constrained. And I can double click on it. Whoops. Double click on the icon. Oh boy. That's just a sudden offset. Edit. There we go. If you right click and go to edit, that'll let you change it. Or more likely what you're going to want to do if something is wrong is just right click and delete it, because then that'll let you move in that dimension again if, for example, you constrained it the wrong way. And then you're going to go through the rest of the puzzle, putting them together, and if you can shake the whole thing and nothing falls out from any of the pieces that you grab, and then at that point you will be all fully assembled. And that does take a little bit of time, and I'm not going to make a whole video doing that, but ultimately that's what you're going to do to complete the assembly of your cube. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.